The discussion that we're having is, man, coming off the heels of watching Who Killed WCW, the void that was left in pro wrestling when WCW was gone. Now we've been given the gift of AEW. Is it perfect? No. But no wrestling company is perfect. The WWE is not perfect. Even though the WWE is on fire right now, there's things that I can bitch and complain about, which we do here on Busted Open, like the way the Bloodline is being utilized right now in Roman's absence. I'm not a big fan of the way they've booked Solo Sikoa, who hasn't had a singles win since beating John Cena. So there's a lot of things that you could talk about with the WWE, but there's a lot of great things to talk about with the WWE as well. I think with AEW, a lot of people just focus on the negatives, and I think, Tommy, that it's become a trend to just shit and hate on AEW. I feel like fans and even podcasts, and we could be guilty of it as well. Like, hey, it's just fun and good content to just shit talk AEW. And do you feel like that's become something that has gotten too much way too soon? And and why? And it's new. And is there things to be critical about with AEW? Absolutely. There's things to be critical about with AEW. Things that frustrate me about AEW, sometimes I don't know who the heels and faces are. AEW fans cheer everybody. I go to yay! Yay! That frustrates me sometimes as a fan. But there's so many things to love about AEW as well. And why fans just point out the negative and not the positive. When 3 years ago, Tommy, all people did was talk about the positive and then not talk about the negative. And why are people so high on just complaining and bitching and trying to tear down AEW? Because I feel now it's gotten beyond constructive criticism. I now think it's a trend to just hate on AEW. And it affects the bottom line of the business. And I feel like sometimes people hate on AEW without even watching the product. They just assume it's bad, and they're not even actually watching on a weekly basis. Are you watching Dynamite? Are you watching Rampage? Are you watching Collision? Tommy, one of my favorite shows of the week is Collision on Saturday nights. People are bitching about Collision, but are you actually watching what's going on Saturday nights? I just feel like it's a trend right now in 2024 to hate on AEW. And we're having the discussion, an open conversation of whether that's fair or unfair. And if you love it, why? And if you don't, I want to hear from you why and have an open, honest discussion about it.
If I could just talk about two recent times going off of what you just said. Randy Orton versus Gunther with the shoulder being up. Correct?
Yes.
I feel if that happened in AEW, the sky is falling.
The sky, they'll be like, Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing. These people aren't ready for prime time. How could this sums up AEW in one moment? But yet it happens in WWE. We praise it. Why? Because they take it and they can make it a storyline. I actually said that. But have they? When are we going to see that match again?
The follow
Tommy,
was
Ronda Rousey's shoulder was not down when Becky Lynch pinned Ronda Rousey at the biggest show at WrestleMania 35 in the main event. They fucked up the ending. Becky Lynch did not beat Ronda Rousey. That was not a 3 count. But you bring it up, and I got hate. Oh, you're hating on the match. You're hating on Ronda. You're hating on Becky. No. People just wanted to forget about it and move on. Right? If that happened in AEW, holy fucking shit. If that happened in AEW, fire everybody.
Well, no, then specifically go on, look how bad their referees are. When also how WWE handled it, I thought WWE handled it excellent. It wasn't on television how they handled it, though. They handled it on social media, where Hunter literally just said, we saw it. Obviously, from my vantage point, I didn't see it, but Going back and watch it, yeah, the shoulder was up, but referee's decision is final. And it was like, okay, that's it. I did. They handled it as best well they can to cover up a mess up, but again, unfair. And here's two greatest workers in the business right now doing that. Continue, Dave.
I got one, Tommy. What just happened a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, the kiss between Dom Mysterio and Liv Morgan. That was not shown on TV. It was not shown on TV. People who were watching Monday Night Raw did not see the kiss between Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio. And what were everybody? Oh, that had to be on purpose. I mean, they wanted big social media numbers. But then everything you've read and seen, it was a mistake. It was an honest mistake. Timing was off. Imagine if that would have happened on AEW. Think about that. Think about a major storyline and a plot in the storyline being completely mistimed, and it happened once the show went off the air. Imagine if that would have happened on AEW Dynamite. Like you just said, Tom, the sky would have been falling. People have been like, AEW don't know what they're doing. Oh my God, how can that happen? This place is a joke. Tell me I'm wrong, Tommy. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I had another point and I totally forgot it just because.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
No, it's all right. I talk too much.
It
was a great point by me, though.
I don't know. It was. But yes, it's that unfair criticism. Kind of like when we were talking about, like, everyone's booing John Cena, everybody's booing Roman Reigns when they're pushing them as baby faces, and we're like, don't boo it, don't boo it. These are the guys, these are the people. But it was the trendy thing to do. And listen, in their performance with John Cena, was John Cena's performance picture perfect? Nope. Oh, I know what I was going to say. We talk in detail about, everything for 3 hours a day. I talked about I had no emotional investment in the BBC match versus the CMLL Luchadors because I didn't know the CMLL Luchadors. Had no emotional investment. I still watched the match, thought it was a solid match. I was happy to see, and I did. I talked about Wheeler Yuta's return, and then the promo that led from that match, the Bryan Danielson promo. Very, very positive. I went on social media, and then I read Tommy Dreamer unimpressed with CMLL as a headline. And then I go and I click on it, and I was just like, yes, they literally said what I said, but didn't just wrote the one part and not followed up with the other stuff. And I was just like, man, number one, I fell for my own clickbait. And number two is, after talking 3 hours of mainly positive stuff, why would somebody point out or then try to create a negative spin on something? And I would still say today, I was not vested into that match, but because I didn't know the characters, and yes, I know they have a storyline in CMLL, but I also said the match was decent, and I also said I liked where Wheeler Yuta returns, all that stuff, but that's when we say they want to focus on the negative. I delete stuff off of my social media all the time because it's negative information being shot at you at this amount where I'm like, why do I get these updates about animals getting killed, or why am I getting these updates of like Biden? Like, I don't want that. And then I have to say, I don't want that. And then the moment 2 days later, I get them all back again. And I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want this on my feed. I don't want this negativity around, but also I don't care about this stuff. So we get a lot of negative information at one. What?
Negativity sells. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in where, something. Tommy, I tweeted and I actually had to take the tweet down, believe it or not. Like, Cody Rhodes bought a ring because there's that in Uganda. There's like this. They're wrestling and they're doing it on the dirt, and they don't have an actual ring. So Cody Rhodes, bought a ring for the Ugandan wrestlers, and because it's something that we've talked about here on Busted Open before. And I tweet that out, and then I'm gonna get the regular people saying, you're up Cody Rhodes' ass, you're a Cody Rhodes fanboy. You know what? I expect that stuff. God forbid you're a fan of somebody in 2024. That's fine. That shit doesn't bother me anymore. But then I was actually getting like credible websites saying, well, why are you just mentioning Cody Rhodes? Mansoor did the same thing, and Swerve Strickland did the same thing. And I actually responded. There was somebody from some major publications, I won't say who, that were saying, well, why didn't you mention Mansoor? And why didn't you mention Swerve? I said, I did. I mentioned it on Busted Open. Well, I don't listen. I didn't listen to that show. You should mention it in your tweet too. Why? I'm specifically commenting on an article about Cody. So now I also have to compliment other people as well. I did it on the show. That's not my fault that you weren't listening to Busted Open when I did that. Like, fuck you, asshole. Like, God forbid I'm trying to be positive. People today suck, and they feel like they got to take a positive thing and turn it into a negative thing. Why? Why can't you just be positive about something? If something negative happens, obviously there's so many forums for you to talk about it, but you can't talk about anything positive. I say anything positive about the WWE, Tommy, I'm a WWE shill. I say anything positive about AEW, I'm an AEW shill. How about the fact I'm just a pro wrestling fan and I want everybody to succeed and everything to be good? I can't say that. That's not right. Anybody that thinks I'm a WWE shill, call in today and tell me why you think that. Anybody that thinks I'm an AEW shill, call in today, 877-344-4893. I'd rather you call me up and talk to me and have an honest discussion about it than saying it on Twitter. Any coward could say something on Twitter. Any coward can make a remark on Twitter. This is an open forum on Busted Open. Call in. I'd love to hear it. I want pro wrestling to succeed, Tommy.
It's not like Twitter, right? It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's TikTok. You'll see all these things but here's the other part where most people don't realize. The moment I clicked on that, someone is making money.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's almost like we're all getting worked to see this negative thing. Well, honestly, like I fell for my own clickbait. And I'm like, what an idiot I am. Because, again, talking 3 hours about pro wrestling, you're just like, huh? And then you want to see what they're saying. Because, and you and I have discussed this. I have talked about it when I saw it. And it was the greatest example of negativity. When an entire arena was cheering for Taz and one person in the ECW arena said, Taz, you suck, out loud. Another person laughed. Taz went after that person. Started cutting, and the whole building that literally was one person went, and then Paul never would get like physical, whatever, and he was just like, what the F are you doing? Like literally manhandles Taz to bring him in the back. If you ever do that again, I will never give you a microphone because I cannot trust you. You're such an effing idiot, blah, blah, blah. You turned a building against you, and that's what that guy wanted. And that was in 1996.
Yeah, and think about that now on Twitter. If you respond to a Twitter troll, now you made that person relevant. Now you've opened up the door of discussion because that's what they wanted. They wanted to irk you enough that you would respond. Now everybody that follows you is now going to see that tweet and see that response. You know what I do, Tommy? I mute. I don't even block. I mute so people could say all the shit they want. And they could badmouth me all they want, and they think they're getting to me, and I don't even see the tweet because I muted you. You know what? You still follow me. I didn't block you, so you're typing away thinking you're bothering me, but I've muted you so I don't even see it.
Yeah,
it's nameless, faceless people, Tommy, but that's what riles up these conversations. Sometimes in a positive way. It's not all negative. Sometimes it could be positive. I use social media as a positive tool.
Like the fan who told me about the movie and the flamethrower. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't know. And I was like, oh, I didn't get it. Or even like when they did the stuff with the House of Dragon. There was an exact correlation of the House of Dragon, which is a promotional thing and a good tool. Same they did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You have then other people coming into...
Well, that was the shits. But...
Yes, but you have to do stuff with that because a company is paying you to advertise and do stuff.
And you could be critical of it. I'm not saying for people not to be critical, but I think now people are just waiting for the demise of AEW, and they're being negative and being critical just to be negative and critical on AEW. And Tommy, it's affecting the company. It's affecting ratings. It's affecting attendance. So it's almost like a discussion too to the people. What stopped you from watching AEW, and what stopped you from going to AEW? I think it's a fair question.